What will future generations say about you? In this episode of the Rodney O Podcast, we continue our journey in our survival guide to 2021 as we read through the Gospel of John. Join me in this episode as we continue to share it with other people. And so on this episode of the Rodney O Podcast, I'm going to talk about leaving a legacy. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Rodney O Podcast. One of my favorite people that I've listened to for a long time is Gary Vee. And I know a lot of you listeners out there have listened to Gary Vee and are familiar with Gary Vee. If not, please check him out. Just do a quick search. He's on every single platform. You'll find him there. Get to know his message. Just a really great message. But one of the things that he's always said that really stood out to me was that he is doing all of this with helping people, giving advice, trying to build entrepreneurs, and just trying to help people lead their lives. And he's saying that he wants to do this to leave a legacy. He's doing it for the funeral, right? He wants people to sit there and live for the funeral, live for the end of their life. He wants people to remember him for who he was. And that kind of speaks out to me because even though in a weird way, I don't go around, and I'm sure he doesn't go around kind of saying like, I'm only doing it for this reason, but he wants to make an impact. He wants to change lives. And I know a lot of people out there want to do that. And so today's topic, as we go through our survival guide series in the faith portion of the Rodney O Podcast, has to do with that whole thing about leaving a lasting testimony. So glad you guys joined us. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Rodney O Podcast. All right, today on the Rodney O Podcast, we're going to continue the series that I titled Survival Guide to 2021, John's Instruction Manual. And so today's topic is, are you leaving a lasting testimony? And so each week I'll be teaching through the Gospel of John, not to be confused with the books of the Bible, John 1, 2, and 3, but the Gospel of John. And so today we're going to go and read through John chapter 5, verses 31 through 47. And my hope, as always, is that those who are unfamiliar with the Bible can kind of get a good intro into it. And I believe John's a good start. And so those who are more proficient into the Bible, they kind of know the Bible well. This is kind of like a refresher, like a review. And hopefully, if you like it, that you'll pass it on to other people and people you know who may need to hear this. And as always, I'll do a real quick recap. The reason why I wanted to do this is because 2021 and even 2020, the crisis continues, and that's the COVID situation. That's the biggest thing that's going on right now. We're still in this COVID situation, but we had some racial tension happen last year. Even this year, we had political fighting in the White House, and we have political parties fighting. And there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of things going on. And with all of that, I want to give a bright side. I want to give good news. And there is good news if we just do our part. And so diving in, I want you guys to remember back when YOLO, Y-O-L-O, was a big phrase of the day, right? You only live once was the mantra, right? And the whole idea is, what the heck, just go for it. Without even thinking about the long-lasting effects or the consequences. I mean, you only have one life to live, just go for it, right? And even though there is some truth to that, and to some level I do teach that and say it as well, but I think in the terms that it's used a lot is out of context. I mean, it's similar to the idea of who cares what other people think? Do what makes you happy. And again, there is some truth to that, but it doesn't take into account the long-lasting effects if you do something damaging. I mean, with this mindset going on around today, we're setting ourselves up for a more difficult future. And yes, I'm a firm believer in the idea that you are not your past. But I also know that there are things that are hard to change and take a lot of time to overcome. I believe it's hard for people to determine what is acceptable to do and what is not acceptable. On the one hand, it's your life, and a lot of times haters and other negative people are trying to stop you from progressing or being happy. And this is what causes us to think about our actions, our goals, our future. You see, we want to live in such a way that we leave a legacy. We want people to have a great testimony about us. And how do we leave a legacy? Well, leaving a legacy doesn't mean that we have to be famous or make a grand gesture in the public eye, give away a lot of money, be rich and famous. Leaving a legacy is the idea of touching other people's lives and making them better. You see, those other people can in turn testify to your character and the kind of person you are. They can testify what your motives are, and they should be able to testify about your faith. You see, our actions speak to others about our faith. We leave a legacy by doing what we are made and designed to do by our Creator. Let's look at our reading today, and let's see we can dive in to exactly what I mean about this. We're going to read from the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verses 31 to 47. And it says this: "If I testify about myself, my testimony is not true. There is another who testifies in my favor, and I know that his testimony about me is true. You have sent to John, and he has testified to the truth. Not that I accept human testimony, but I mention it that you may be saved. John was a lamp that burned and gave light, and you chose for a time to enjoy his light. I have a testimony weightier than that of John. For the works that the Father has given me to finish, the very works I am doing, testify that the Father has sent me. And the Father who sent me has himself testified concerning me. You have never heard his voice nor seen his form, nor does his word dwell in you, for you do not believe the one he sent. You study the scriptures diligently because you think that in them you have eternal life. These are the very scriptures that testify about me. Yet you refuse to come to me to have life. I do not accept glory from human beings, but I know you. I know that you do not have the love of God in your hearts. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not accept me. But if someone else comes in his own name, you will accept him. How can you believe since you accept glory from one another, but do not seek glory that comes from the only God? But do not think I will accuse you before the Father. Your accuser is Moses, on whom your hopes are set. If you believe Moses, you will believe me, for he wrote about me. But since you do not believe what he wrote, how are you going to believe what I say?" And so, in a nutshell, what does this mean? It means we need to take responsibility for the actions we take. It's not simply a YOLO life, do whatever makes you happy life. It's about being responsible for your actions and what you do because it affects other people. Living with regret is difficult. You may get over the past and leave it behind, but the regret is hard to shake. You see, when we love for the right purposes, which means helping other people, improving other people's lives, we have no regret. We live happier, and the people around us are happier. This is in contrast to not caring and doing whatever we want for selfish reasons, for just making ourselves happy, no matter who we trample on, no matter who we hurt. It's the wrong way to think about things. I know a lot of unhappy people who, quote unquote, they do what makes them happy, but really they're unhappy because all they're trying to do is make themselves happy, but they're doing about it the wrong way. Because we should really care now. We should really care about our actions and what we do and how we affect other people. Because again, the worst thing to see is someone living with regret at the end of their life, to see them just regretting a lot of things that they did because they can't go back and it's too late. And that's hard to see. Don't wait until later in life to care. Care now so you don't regret later. So let me leave you with these things. Think about your gift and determine what YOLO and happy things you can do within your gifts and abilities. Because there is a truth to that, to the YOLO and to the do what makes you happy. But think about what you should be doing with your gifts and abilities to do the YOLO, to make other people happy, to do what makes you happy. Second, change the mindset from do what makes me happy to do what makes the world a better place. And third, leave a legacy so others can testify on you and your character and on who you are. Well, please feel free to dialogue with me. My YouTube channel, Rodney O, shows how I am living what I speak. Please just be sure to check out that channel and subscribe. The link is in the podcast description, or you can simply go to YouTube and search Rodney O. Remember this. I want to encourage, inspire, and motivate all of you guys as you navigate this journey that we call life. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one.